Hello, everyone. Glad you can join us this afternoon in Auburn, here in Auburn, California. And on my right, of course, is partner in crime.
Tony.
Just partner.
His partner.
Just partner. And on the left, our very special guest that we have, Greg Kimler, who, among other things, is the owner of Echo Valley Supply. Anyway, Greg has a lot of stories, and I'm going to tell some stories about Greg also, since I know a few, and I bet you know a few too.
Well, you know more than me.
And I have a few to share about you guys.
That's only.
We're going to set the story straight.
Now, before doing so, I have this quote that I'd like to share with you. And Greg, if you'll relate this quote to your life and how it might apply. There will be parts that will apply, maybe there will be parts that won't apply. It's a long quote, but I can repeat it if necessary, knowing that.
Talk slowly.
I'm not graded on this.
Well. Okay. This is by Leo Rostin. According to him, I think the purpose of life is to be useful, to be responsible, to be honorable, to be compassionate. It is, after all, to matter, to count, to stand for something, to have made some difference that you have lived at all. I can repeat it if like.
No, I think it's good.
You got it all?
I got parts.
Okay,
bits
well
and pieces.
let's do the parts that apply.
Well, it applies to what we've created in Auburn with Echo Valley, and giving the community giving to us, and us being able to give to the community in supporting different organizations, the run, the ride, and everything that goes on, 4-H FFA. And so that's how I read that, how we can.
I'm going to add, so when Greg is talking about the run, he's talking about Western States, the run. When he's talking about the ride, he's talking about the Tevis.
Western States Trail Ride.
Okay. Now, Greg, you didn't mention that you also contribute to Ride and Tie and have been a great contributor to, when I was hosting the Cool Ride and Tie, you've donated so many different things, plus people to assist. So definitely that part. But I know there's more in this quote that applies to you.
You may have to repeat it.
Okay, I think it's really a good. I think it's really a good quote, because the purpose of life, and I think this part is to be useful, responsible, honorable, compassionate, and once again to matter, to count, to stand for something, to have made that difference.
Well, it goes back to the amount of years I've volunteered for Western States Trail Foundation. 12 years as a volunteer, being on the ride committee that puts on the.
Well, let's go back just to the foundation and explain to our audience and your fans what that actually is. Some may not know.
The Western States Trail Foundation is the foundation that puts on the Tevis Cup Ride, the 100 miles in one day ride, and preserves this 100 miles of trail from Lake Tahoe to Auburn, and maintains it financially, volunteers, and with 800 volunteers puts on the Tevis Cup Ride.
And you have some stories about the maintaining the trail.
Yes. Well, I got broken into trail maintenance probably in the mid-'90s with Mr. Gabry, who we all know, the little trail general, I call him. And Charlie. And I learned a lot from him, and then I eventually took over the ranks and put my time in as the head trail guy with our crews. I've backed away this last year and let somebody else jump in because they wore me out.
But tell us some stories of maybe some of the hazardous or or funny stories.
Working with Mike Shackelford, who was the trail boss before me on the Western States Trail, we use motorcycles to access some of these remote points in the Forest Service land where it's legal, and then we would get permission from state parks during the week to use motorcycles because we could get in and out to fix a problem area much quicker. And Mike, on a motorcycle, shouldn't happen. And he found a beautiful restored Trail 90, Honda Trail 90. And it looked like it was brand new out of the box. And it was from the late 70s. And he went to Fresno and bought it, and it had all the turn signals. And I said, you need to practice in your yard. So he built some obstacles, and so our first trail project was we drove the motorcycles in trucks to Robinson Flat. And we had some huge trees down between Cougar Rock and Red Star. And this is right before the run. So we wanted to get those trees out of there. So I had my large chainsaw on my back and on my bigger motorcycle.
What kind of motorcycle were you on?
I was on a Honda 400.
Okay.
And Mike's on his Trail 90. And it's beautiful.
Big gear in the back.
And we took off right there from Robinson, and it's 7 miles back to the intersection of Red Star. And I drove back, and I shut off my engine, and I waited, and I waited, and I finally headed back the direction. And are we going?
Yeah, keep going.
And found Mike, and one turn signal was already broken off, and he said he fell 2 times. And I said, well, this is a road. But if you looked at the shock absorbers, they're old garage door springs, so you hit a rock and you bounce. So anyways, we proceeded out the trail, and you have to go across Elephant's Trunk, which is very narrow on a motorcycle. And I got across, and then Mike went off the edge, and I went down and helped him pull the motorcycle back up, and we went and took care of the trees. And on the way back, we got to Elephant's Trunk, and he was very concerned about getting across. And I said, just keep up your momentum because you have a large hill there. And he did, and he hit a root, and he flipped completely over backwards, and the bike went back down the hill. By the time we got the bike back to Robinson Flat and Mike, he had many cuts and abrasions. The bike had no more turn signals, no more little basket on the back. And this continued for a couple of years. And the bike, I don't know how it runs now, because he went off again by Kaput Springs, a good 75 feet. And luckily an oak tree stopped him, or he would have gone many
He shouldn't be on a
So
bike.
flying airplanes didn't translate to motorcycle riding.
I don't know. I don't think I'd ever get an airplane that he piloted. Yes, I've told him that several times. So we've had some great times out. Long hours, hard work, but we always made it fun.
Okay. Any other stories that
On trail maintenance?
on trail maintenance
Oh,
over your
boy.
12 years of?
Oh, good times. Just good people working with the run and the ride folks, the volunteers. It's fun because you get the run, the Western States Run. They have to put in volunteer hours if they're in the
To qualify.
qualify. So we get large groups of able-bodied, very fit folks, but they've never seen the end of a lopper or any type of tool. So gathering up all those troops to do a certain project can be trying sometimes, but they're
But you have a party afterwards.
chicken wings and beer
Yeah.
on the
Well,
tailgate.
okay. Did you know Tony used to race motorcycles?
No, I did not.
Long time ago.
Well, tell Greg one of your stories about getting through turns or not getting through turns on the track.
Well, it's just difficult.
And especially when your bike was coming apart?
Well,
That story.
it's what going down a straightaway, wide open, and you can't go straight because the handlebars sheared off from the top of the.
That would be a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
But they had hay bales. They had, you crash into the hay bales and
I think that's a good story.
keep going.
See?
Was this motocross?
That was motocross. Yeah, that was
yeah.
back. That was kind of my teenage years. That was,
Back with the bull tacos
yes,
and the
yes. I had a CZ, which
CZ. I had one of those.
You did. Yeah.
Did you do motocross too?
I always tried to be, but
tried to be.
Yeah, no, I grew up with motorcycles, so yes.
Okay. So you also mentioned, other than the Western States Trail Foundation, you started mentioning a bunch of things. I just wanted you to go into detail in terms of your giving, your involvement.
Well, myself and my business have given to, we've been the hay suppliers, feed suppliers for Tevis, I want to say for about 23 years. And that's all.
Are you that old?
That was before my time, my dad started the business, and then he
When did your dad start that business?
Well, Echo Valley Ranch started in 1972 in Grass Valley as a cattle ranch. That's how we made our living, with cattle, and then eventually hogs. And
were you born then?
I was born in Sacramento. We moved to that ranch when I was 10 years old.
So you grew up on the ranch then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we always had horses. My sisters, I have two older sisters, were more involved in the horses, rodeo, the pole bending, the barrel racing,
Real
and
cowboys.
travel.
Real cowgirls.
Yeah, but I was always, when they came home from a ride, they would give me the horse to put away, and a lot of times it was a half mile into an upper pasture. What does a horse do when its buddies are in the pasture, and they'd throw me on the horse, they'd go put my horse away with a halter and a lead rope.
Is that how you learned how to ride?
Yeah, until the horse would always make a straight line. Well, the branches around going to the gate were this high.
But you're only 10 years old.
Yeah, but they laughed. They laughed every time I got scraped off.
Well, it's fun.
So no wonder he went into endurance riding, as
So
opposed to.
We had cattle, and we grew our own hay, but it wasn't enough hay to supply our cattle, so we would bring in loads of hay from Nevada. And as people started building around the ranch, they had a few horses. The feed store would be closed on Sunday, and they called my dad and said, "Can I buy a bale of hay?" Okay, come on down and buy a bale of hay, and that's how we started.
Huh.
In Grass Valley.
We started selling
Selling to
hay
the
out of there. We
neighbors,
built
yeah.
a big hay barn and and then Dad bought a couple trucks.
Whereabouts in Grass
Off
Valley?
of Lime Kiln Road.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dad bought a few trucks and started hauling hay, and mainly supplying dairies and other cattle ranches and feed stores. And he threw me in a truck on my 18th birthday when I got my license to go haul hay, so I did that for a long time.
So that's how you started hauling.
Yeah, and then he moved to Auburn in 1980.
Where you currently are?
No, by the Dr. Fox's naked statues off of Auburn Ravine. There was an old Quonset
That's where I
hut
met
there.
Greg.
Yeah.
Is that where we met him?
Yeah, that's where I met Greg.
So you're that old too?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
So Dad started the business there, and I was off doing college and stuff and getting married the first time and having children. And then I came back into the business in 1998.
Okay.
And my dad had just passed. I came in actually right before he passed, and we discussed things, and so I took over, and he said, "Don't take over." He said, "Sell it and go do something else," and here we are.
So you didn't listen to him?
I didn't listen to him.
How come?
I saw something there. He was tired and he was very sick, but I saw my livelihood. I was pretty young, and
Did you graduate from college?
No, Dad. I came home to run the cattle ranch, and Dad got very sick with had a triple bypass, and my sisters were off getting their masters and their doctorate degrees in Oregon. So I came back and said, "Oh, I'll always go back to college," and never did.
Never did.
Was that the cattle ranch up where the old home was?
Mm-hmm.
Where the great
Cemetery.
You can
We
tell
had
the story
parties there.
about the cemetery, which was quite cool.
on the property. The ranch is the old Cunningham Ranch, and the house was, I think, built in 1895, a big farmhouse. Several old outbuildings, and then the original homestead cabins were on the property. They were falling down. But there's a pioneer cemetery on top of the hill there, and probably at least 150 headstones. But many of them were just small copper plates that got lost. And it's been preserved. It's not in any record, but there's the most frequent site is 1962. And I remember some older ones from the 1850s, 1860s.
Really?
Yeah. So that's where I grew up. It's a great place to grow up, a great experience, a lot of hard work. Because this was our family business, is how we supported everybody. So
you were born in Sacramento then?
Yeah, it was.
So your father is native Californian?
He came from originally Illinois,
What part? What, remember? What community?
Blandonsville,
Don't-
Southern. I went back once when I was a kid.
Okay.
Farm country.
Farm, well, yeah.
And then off to Montana, where he met my mom.
She's from Montana?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the family from Montana came to Sacramento, and I was born there.
Remember what year they came to Sacramento, California?
Probably around 61, 1961.
Okay.
Because I was born shortly thereafter in 62.
Hmm.
Yeah.
10 years younger.
Still,
he is young.
still.
Just turned 52
Just
last
turned
week.
52,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did he do in Sacramento?
My father did many different things, and he was a salesman for Sailor's Candies, a big fancy candy shop out of San Francisco, Parker Pen Corporation,
That I'm
and
familiar.
he made tons of money. He was one of their top salesmen.
Huh.
He was never home. He traveled the Western U.S., and he got tired of doing that, so he bought a business in downtown Auburn on Lincoln Way and leased a building and started Jeannie's Hallmarks, named after my mother, a Hallmark store, and candies.
In Auburn.
Yeah, right up from Mickey Boots.
This is in the 60s?
This would be in early 70s.
Early 70s.
Late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
And did quite successful. And
Still living in
You're right
Sacramento?
here.
no, we were living off of Kramer Road. We had 20 acres out there and had
Was
some
Griffin's
horses.
there? No, Griffin's wasn't there then.
Griffin's was there.
It was there.
Well,
then.
yeah, they were up the street.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember meeting Wendell Roby because he would come down and talk with my dad around lunchtime. And I met him when I was 6 or 7. And finally put 2 and 2 together years ago who this gentleman was.
Oh, you didn't?
No, at that time I didn't know who Wendell Roby. I knew he had the big lumber yard up at the top of the hill up there.
Okay.
And I would get kicked out of there for riding my bicycle around. So he started a Hallmark store there, did very well, and he expanded and opened his second store on Mill Street in Grass Valley. That's kind of the shopping
Okay.
fancy where they have and he started Cornish Christmas up there, which is still very popular to get businesses open at night and get people into town. So and then he got tired of that and he sold them and bought this ranch.
So he was a real entrepreneur until, and then from that, do you know what caused him to go from that into back to the land and the farming and
I don't know. He was
ranching?
tired of it.
Tired of it?
Knew he could make money at that time with selling them, and bought this ranch, which was run down, no livestock on it, overgrown with star thistle, and bought a couple tractors and put me and the sisters on tractors and said, start plowing.
Okay, so what did he model to you then as a kid? What was the model?
Ornery, stubborn, hardworking. Didn't appreciate it when I was younger until I got older and went, wow, he was right about a lot of things. Taught me a good work ethic.
It was about work, hard
Work.
hard work.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
12-hour days were short to him.
Okay.
No, I learned very much from my dad. I miss him a lot and taught me a lot, and didn't realize till after he's gone how much he meant to you.
What was his name?
Gene
Gene. Okay. And your mom? What about
is
her?
Jeannie.
Well,
Jeannie.
tell us about Gene and Jeannie.
My
Jeannie,
mom is
yeah.
doing well. She's remarried. She lives up near Red Bluff in a little town called Las Molinas on 99.
Okay.
Travels a lot, has a couple draft horses that she drives, and does some long drives through Nevada with her new husband. They camp like wagon trains, and I feed the horses, so I haul hay up and go see her.
So what was she like as a mom?
She was my defender against my dad. You know,
You're
and
the
they
boy.
eventually got divorced. I don't know if it was because of me, but she is.
What were you doing to cause her
You
to?
know, I'm a young man.
Doing
You
what?
know,
What were
you're
you
tired
doing?
of working and changing irrigation line and digging
Dad
ditches.
wanted them to work.
And I
you
wanted to
know.
play football. I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to chase girls. And
And she supported that.
she was,
Or was
just
that
a
to really
defender of all.
countering?
Yeah, she was just a defender of all of us kids, and
Okay.
she's.
So you needed her to be
And
there.
she is a master in the kitchen, and still is, and has taught me a lot. I love to cook, and baking homemade breads and pies all the time. And we butchered our own cattle on the place. We had a butcher shop and our own hogs, and we had 200 chickens and a 5-acre vegetable garden. She canned 1,500 quarts a year, and we had a root cellar I mean, we lived in the 70s, but it was probably more like living in the 20s.
And you're going back to that in some ways, aren't you?
Oh, I'd love to. 4 milk cows. And, I had to milk the cows, change the irrigation line all before school, and feed the hogs and cattle or whatever needed to be done.
And aren't you still doing that in some ways?
No, just horses.
Just horses?
I just have horses.
You were just talking about chickens.
I'm going to get them. The wife wants chickens. She wants fresh eggs. So I got to build the coop and just a half a dozen or so.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your competitive endurance riding.
Well, it's never been competitive,
Frank thought it was.
Well, to me it was. I saw him.
Frank has a story
I
about
saw,
it. He tells
I
me
saw
all the
him.
time.
I saw him coming out of the quarry. This is during Tevis in 2000. 2000. He's leaving the quarry. That's
Yes.
I'm going in, and he's looking and laughing at me.
Well, I can understand that.
No, I don't get any sympathy.
You didn't look too good then. That's 95 miles into the ride.
Yeah, but you were laughing.
And you caught me and tagged along, and
Tagged
Yes.
along. Listen to this.
He
Tagged along.
let you stay with him.
Tagged along.
Yeah.
well, I was with Terry Miller, who had caught up to me about Cal 1, and a French gal that spoke very little English. She was riding one of Potato's horses, and that was her first ride over 25 miles. And she looked. We stopped at the No Hands Bridge, and we had to use the bushes.
He had lunch. He had lunch and a little picnic.
Yeah, the far end of No Hands before we continued up, and somewhere you tagged along, and we pulled you in.
As he's quite up on the fact that he passed you before the
I
finish
think,
line.
41st is much better
Yes,
than
I know.
42nd.
His buckle's much different than yours.
It wasn't about that. It was beating.
Yeah, I know.
Because of his smile.
I respect my elders. I held the door open for them, and that's what I did. I held the door open to the finish line for you.
Well, I was moving up here and was talking to Tom and Laura. And I said, well, where do I get hay? I said, Greg. So that's when I first met Greg. And then, but I remember also we did a NASTAR 75. He probably doesn't remember that, but I remember NASTAR 75. You remember that?
Yeah.
Remember where you came in?
Probably behind you, because I respect my elders.
He's still
Yeah.
holding on to
Were
that.
you still behind me and Tom, though?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
great.
sure. In those days, you guys were rolling. Yeah, that was a good ride.
That was good. All right. So when did you start endurance?
I met my now wife, Tammy, and she had a big gray horse named Steel Wheels out of Remington Steel. And she'd done some things with it, but never endurance, just trail riding. And I got to know a few people like Hal Hall through the store. And
Echo.
yes, through Echo Valley. And I went and I met Patty Bailey, who had Remington Steel, pretty famous halter stallion, and he did Tevis once, and visited her place off of Lou Allen Lane going towards Georgetown. And she had quite a number of horses out there, and we were feeding the horses, and I'd go out there and help her with some different feeds and different diets. And I rode one of her little mares, I believe, for the first time. Just a little tiny mare, but I was used to cow horses that would go out a few miles and then their head was dragging the ground. And this little mare just kept going and kept going and kept going. And so
Even with your weight?
Yeah. And we didn't go far. We maybe went 10, 12 miles. That was a long ways. Are you making fun of my weight?
I'm just no. You look good. You look good.
Yeah, I'm larger for the sport. We can talk about that later. But so Tammy had. So I started taking this steel wheels horse out, and he's a big 16-hand tall horse, around the ranch, and it was only like 2 miles. But then there was about a 200-yard hill with a deer trail, and I'd take him up that 4 or 5 times. And I said, I'm gonna go do this Derby ditch ride in Nevada, and I want to say, this was 1994 or 5. So
You're endurance riding then.
I think I was there. I think that was one of the ones. I know Shackelford was there at one of them because I had a good story about Shackelford.
I don't think I had met Mike then. This was earlier.
That must have been earlier then.
But that's you during your time.
Could have been there, 95.
So we threw him in the trailer, old stock trailer, threw a Western saddle on there.
Western saddle.
Western saddle, and I had my Wranglers and my boots, and this horse is very competitive and he's very fast. And we took off along the old ditch, and I just kind of let him go into an extended trot. And I think we were into Silver Springs.
Isn't that a pretty part of the ride?
Yeah.
The ditch.
The goats.
Derby
And
ditch.
Right.
There's no beautiful part of the rides.
It's true.
And I think we ended up coming into the 1-hour lunch hold at Silver Springs in 3rd place. And I was hoping to be pulled then, because I'd never ridden that far.
Okay.
I was bloody from
yeah.
the Wranglers. I could not hold this horse. Susan McCarthy was a vet back then, and she said, he looks fine, but I wasn't fine.
She didn't
but
say
I wouldn't
that
say
about
that.
you. She didn't say that about you.
But you had to go up that one climb over that mountain, and I got off of him, and because I couldn't ride anymore, I had to walk a little bit and let several riders pass me as he was doing circles around me. And on the other side, I eventually got on him, and we came in 11th.
Did well.
And Tammy was like, why didn't you top 10?
Why didn't you top 10?
Because I can't walk.
He was like, my legs
I
are
can't
bloody
get on
and
this
my-
horse. So that was my first experience. And then the passion grew, and I got
For Tammy or for the sport?
both.
So it was Tammy that.
Tammy introduced me and got me
Tammy
going.
was behind it.
Yeah.
The story.
And then she started campaigning that horse and did pretty well with him. And we still have him. He's 27 now. And then I picked up a horse out of Arizona, a Rush Creek horse. And that's the horse that you beat me. You beat that horse at Tevis in 2000, if you don't remember.
Let me think about
And
that.
this horse, he was 5 years old when I got him, and he and I grew into the sport together. I knew nothing about it. He knew nothing about it, and he's 20 years old now, and he's still not broke. And then we did about 2,500 miles together in a couple Tevises.
Okay.
But we had we learned a lot along the way.
What have you learned?
How to get pulled at Robinson, because this horse stumbled his way through Granite Chief every time.
Well, tell people between the start and Robinson what that's like.
Well, you start out at Roby Park, it'd be North Tahoe or near North Tahoe, backside of North Star Ski Resort, and you go about 8 or 9 miles and cross Highway 89, and then you enter Squaw Valley Ski Resort and traverse that, and I think go up to 8,800 feet over Watson's Monument. And from there, you have about 3 miles, it feels like 30, of Granite Chief Wilderness, which is a deer trail with water and rocks and bogs, and horses are falling and stumbling. And it's a long 3 miles, as Tony knows.
Very long sometimes.
And then from there, you stay in the rocks. You're in the rocks all the way to Red Star, and you can go over Cougar Rock with a famous picture or go around it. And the first year I chose to go over it, and we proceeded to fall flat on our face at the top, and he bloodied his nose. And but and then tough course up there.
Yeah, I was quite happy when they put the bypass trail around Cougar Rock.
How come?
I never went over the rock again. Never rode over it. I've never even been on my road over that rock.
Why would you?
Well, I wouldn't myself. 'Cause you usually fall down. Yeah, I've ran over it many times, but I've never rode my horse over it.
The horse I've got my last couple of buckles on, he makes it look easy.
Really?
He's very nimble, and I've taken him over the rock the last few times.
Okay,
And
so
he's been fine.
So you got good pictures.
Good pictures, yeah, nice horse.
And what have you done with the pictures?
Some are hanging on my wall at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you started endurance, first ride, Derby Ditch, and you really went back for more, and that wasn't a fun experience, is what you're saying.
No, the first ride was tough, and then you learn to wear tights. I don't care how you look; they're much more comfortable. Or at least some vet wrap around your jeans, and I still, when I train horses, I don't put on. I usually wear jeans. I'll just keep a roll of vet wrap, and if I start getting sore, I just put that around. But yeah, you
Still
know,
a cowboy.
try to be.
Try to be.
No, but yeah, the inventions, as Tony well knows, you know, over the years, the saddles and the tack and everything's changed.
Yeah. I started out in jeans. I had the same, you know, everyone had the same problem. You either a lot of the guys wore pantyhose under their
Pantyhose,
jeans,
yeah.
or like me, I just had them wrapped.
You wrapped them.
You had to, or you just got butchered. And then the tights were great. And
Still
first
are.
everyone
Still
would
are.
it was kind of funny because first people would wear their running shorts over their tights,
Right.
you know, and then finally everyone just
Wear
Oh,
tights,
well.
just
yeah.
wear tights. Who cares?
It's true.
But up until Tevis of 2000, I didn't know anything about Tevis really in 2000. I went into that pretty blind. Luckily, I had a good, tough horse. Frank Smith, you know, one of my good friends, a mule guy, he said, well, I'll be by to pick you up. And he pulled in the ranch with the old trailer, and his mule was in there, Buckaroo, who topped in the ride twice. And I don't think my Rush Creek horse had ever seen a mule. We'd rode together, but being in confined quarters, and I threw Houston in the back, and we went up to Roby Park, and the trailer was moving a lot. And Houston came out of that trailer like this, you know. And so we just tied him up to a tree, and I slept in a sleeping bag on the ground, and off we went next morning.
Okay. So your first Tevis was
2000.
that was your first? Okay. And so how many Tevises have you done?
I've attempted 8, and I have 4 buckles. Right on the 50% mark.
You have a better percentage.
I'm better.
Well,
Percentage better.
Well, I remember when Tony got his 10th, and I was in awe because we were sitting, what year was that, 96, 7?
Would have been 98 or 90. Yeah, that had been 90.
Because I remember when you got your 10th, you were sitting down by where they have the breakfast by the arena, and he had his horse in his hand and was just sitting on the grass. I don't remember who else was there. Might have been Christoph or something, but grazing your horse, and we knew each other, but not well then. But he got his 10th buckle, and I was like, wow, you know, it's quite an accomplishment.
He still has it.
Still wearing it.
Still wearing it, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'll ever get to 10.
Well, you're close.
Well,
You're young.
I'm not doing it this year. I don't have the horse.
Oh, you're not.
My good Tevis horse is turning 18 this year, and he's 4 for 5, and I said, no more.
Enough?
Yeah, we'll do some 50s on him, but not Tevis.
Well, 5 Tevises that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So you
So
looking for another horse?
Oh, no, I have plenty of youngsters. I actually have a 12-year-old that is physically could do it, but his brain's not there yet. So we're working on him.
So how
Maybe
much
next year.
riding are you doing?
I try to get out 2 to 3 times a week.
Same horse or different
No,
horses?
I'm riding a real nice 6-year-old. That's my wife's horse. He's pretty small, but he's built really. He's out of our mare, and he's 6 years old. And I took him on his first 50 last fall, and he did very well carrying me.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get him trail broke, so she'll feel a little more comfortable on him. He's pretty pushy.
You like that in a horse?
Yeah, he's very go forward, but after about 30 miles into a ride,
Tires you out.
it does.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got plenty of youngsters coming up.
Okay. So what rides are you going to do this year? You
I
decided-
may go back and do American River later in the month. I haven't done that in about
Really?
12 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's local, it's easy to get to. We plan on doing more multi-day rides. I'd like to go to Utah. There's some good ones. We went to the championship in Idaho last summer, and that was a great trip.
Okay.
So do more of those. That way we can take 3 horses and, you know, get some get your money's worth doing.
Get your miles.
Get your miles and.
You chasing Shackelford?
No. No. He'll break though.
He'll break.
You should tell, I wish he was here, because he got a great story at NASTAR 70 with Shackelford, and he was riding fast at the beginning.
He always rides fast.
And I can't remember where I was, because I was probably riding fast too, but
Well, you always ride fast.
we came in, and I might have been behind him or just in front of him, and I just looked at him and says, "Quit trying to chase those girls, Jim. You're never going to catch them."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he just always laughs about that. Ever since, he talked to me, and he fell back, and I came in second. But but it was a funny story, because he was chasing the girls, trying to keep up with the lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no way you can, not until they tire out at least.
Yeah.
Well, in that 2000 ride, we're riding together. Shackelford and myself. So we get to the going up Squaw, and we're getting water for the horses. And so we separated. He went one side for the water, and I went to the other. So, of course, he thought that I went ahead, which I didn't. And he went ahead. And so I found him at Robinson, pulled.
Oh yeah.
Pull.
Mike's never hasn't made it yet.
If he would have stayed with me, he would have finished.
I'm sure you would have passed him near the end.
Well,
You never
at
know.
the end, but yeah, well, actually, there was that same year, we went up to Reading. You were there. It was one of the Reading rides. I forget what it was called earlier in the year.
Whiskey Town.
Whiskey Town. So you were there. Christoph was there.
Oh, I remember.
Mike and I was there. So we were chasing Tom and Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't catch us, did
Didn't
you?
catch, no. Came close though. Came close. I was surprised. Really surprised.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you weren't that far ahead.
I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing you.
You didn't. You didn't.
Well, on a training ride a couple years ago, I was going out of White Oak. It was a pretty warm day, and I ran into you two guys. You guys were on foot walking up. And a funny story is somebody had left their keys at the
Somebody.
at the rafters toilet at Rucky Chucky.
That was on the.
Yes, I
that was a
remember that.
training run.
That was the training run, yeah. The
You
West
heard
States training run.
about that?
I was there. You guys told me. You were trudging back up, sweating, and I'm on a horse. Just all
was that when we went to go get back to get them?
You went back to get
That
them.
was when we went. That was a month later when
that
we
was
went back to get them. They were still there.
He found his keys.
So it was your keys. I
It was
always thought
my
it was your
keys,
keys.
yes.
Oh no, my keys.
Yes, we got back to the car, and I looked and said, "Well, I have no keys."
This was the training run for Western States.
Right.
And we get back to after the bus ride back to Forest Hill.
Right.
No
And
keys.
I drove, so
He had to call Debbie to.
which didn't
get
go
it.
over well with them.
Why
Well-
would you have your keys out? You figured they'd be tucked away
Well,
somewhere.
they were.
There's more to the story.
It slipped off my water belt. The thing I had them in slipped off the water belt, and I kind of figured out that's where they were because that's the only place I stopped.
Right.
And they were still there a month later, right where I left them.
But the decision was, should he run back then during that race or training run?
Right. I
Right.
was almost going to. Yeah.
If he did, he would have got halfway without water. You would have
Right.
run out of water, and then to go all
Had
the
to
way
go
back
another-
to
yeah.
Forest Hill or even back to White Oak Flat, well, there would have been no bus there for you at
No.
that point. So might as well just leave the keys. But he has not only his keys, cell phone.
No, I didn't leave my cell, just the keys.
No, but you carry your
Oh yeah,
cell
I carry
phone.
my cell phone with
And
me.
didn't you lose your cell phone one day?
And my wallet dropped out the back of my pack, and you guys picked it up on the trail because
And
I
of
had my
course,
pack on
we
upside.
didn't tell
I
him.
had my pack on upside down with it that unzipped and just. They weren't going to tell me. My friends, they said, we were, "You missing something,
Are you
Tony?"
missing
Yeah.
Oh,
something?
let him suffer a little while.
A little bit.
That's okay. I lost my keys again at Roby Point doing the same thing. I had to go back there and find them
So now
again.
but now he has like 3 different
I have
compartments.
keys everywhere.
Keys. just
There's no
in-
way I'm going to have to
in
call
case.
again and
Okay.
get rescued.
All right. So how many kids do you have?
I have 2 boys.
And wasn't one playing football?
My younger one, I have Tyler. He's 28 now. He lives in Flagstaff, and then my younger son Ryan was playing football at Forest Hill High School when they first opened it, and I was helping out on their defensive side.
You were coaching, weren't you?
Yeah, and so it was quite a commitment from 3 o'clock every day till dark, coaching the boys. And Jim Herlihy was head coach at the time up there. We got along real well. And he did pretty well in football and followed his dreams. And they very few of these star high school football players become. And he realized that, and he joined the Marines and took the competitiveness to the Marine Corps. So he's out now.
Is he out? Okay.
Hmm.
Where's
So-
he now?
He's local here. Yeah, he's local.
Is he going to take over the store?
I doubt it. They see how much work I had to do, but
It's
now
not-
it's
yeah.
easy.
Is it easy now?
No, here it's easy now because of the people we have in place. A lot of these people.
Easy for you mean?
Yes, easier for me and my top management because we have a really good crew. A lot of these, like Connie's been with me over 20 years. She started with my dad.
Oh, okay.
And she's my right-hand gal. She's my next one. And then all my other gals, all my other managers are women,
Smart.
young women,
Smart,
and we've found some good ones.
okay.
And they've been with me quite a while.
That's what allows you to go on vacation now.
Exactly. You know, Connie runs the ship when I'm gone, Connie and Missy, and we have Lindsay and Sierra, and they really,
They've been with you a long time, too,
Yeah.
those girls.
yeah, and we try to treat them right. And that's what I find. If you find a good one, treat them right so they stick around. You don't want a lot of turnover. And we have a lot of young high school kids that work for us part-time on the weekends, and that's always a challenge, but we do a good job hiring. And there's some good kids out there.
So tell us a little bit about the store and what a day would be like at a feed store, because you have a lot of products there.
A lot of product. Our main business is the hay business, and we move into that store around 300, 350 semi-loads a year.
The load would be
25 to 28 tons, a little over 500 bales. So sometimes it's a load or two a day when we're real busy, because there's slow times a year on hay when the grass starts growing, people have pasture. Move a tremendous amount of bag feed, from chicken feed to cattle feed to horse feed, and then we carry a full line of dog food, cat food, and a lot of that bird seed. We have anywhere from 250 to 350 sales a day, so it's a pretty busy place. We have probably about 15 full-time employees and another 15 part-time. It's around 30 employees.
So you got a lot of people to keep track of.
Being open 7 days a week, yeah.
Are you open Sundays now?
Oh, yeah. We have been for, 8 years.
Okay.
Just a limited time, just 10 to 3.
10 to 3. Okay.
Yeah, but it's very busy on Sundays.
Okay.
Average day, a lot of fun. Putting
What
out
would be-
fires.
What would be fun?
The crew, we make it fun. It's not just work.
You want to go work for him?
We're laughing the minute we get there. I mean, we're serious. We get the job done, but we interact with our customers. Our customers are great because they love to come to the old feed store feel. And they'll sit around there for hours and browse and visit with everybody. And my crew is so knowledgeable on every aspect of livestock. We have girls that are goat experts, sheep experts, chicken experts, duck experts, equine. We can answer any questions. So we're just not a store to sell product. We have some knowledge and some service. So it's but each day throws you a curve. You know.
Was there a curve today?
No.
Were you there? Were you there?
I was there. I was there all day because I knew I had to come meet with you guys.
Without a curve. So
There's always minor curves. It's the big curves.
what kind of curves would be a
Well, you know, you have a driver that dumps a load of hay on a corner on a car, or
That happens?
a car, or the bale of hay. This is years ago. This didn't happen recently. Or a bale falls off and a car hops up on it, and they don't notice that the muffler catches it on fire. And
Really?
oh yeah, we have lots of good stories. But these will stay in. These will be for my book, because I could write a book on Echo
All
Valley.
this stuff. Okay. So you've had this store a long time.
Yeah, a long time, and even when I was away doing other things, you know, I'd come home on weekends and help Dad out. And, but it's a lot bigger than it was then. We only had 4 or 5 employees when I took it over.
Okay. So where do you see it going? Or your
You know,
role?
when I quit having fun doing what I do, I'm trying to back away a little bit and
Are ya?
take away more time and ride my horses. And I'll do that in the summer. I bring my horse to work in the morning, and I have a corral out back. And it's great for my young horses. They get exposed to all the equipment we
that
have, the
stuff,
train
all that
going by.
stuff, yeah.
And I put them in a 12 by 12 shelter out there.
Okay.
And then around noon, I can just go get them and run to the overlook and then I can get a ride into cool and back. And so I bring my horse to work quite a bit during the summer.
Is that why you don't run more?
I haven't been running in about 3 weeks, and I went today. I went on a short run today out of the overlook and just went down around Roby Point. And I said, I better go run or Frank's going to. No, I would like to. It's just time. You know, we have 9 horses. So I run a lot with the horses, but you can only do so much.
But that's still good.
I
Yeah,
still
but you-
do that. I still take
Oh, yeah.
Deb's new horse out and jog with her.
Mhm.
I enjoy it.
But I'm not up to the of course, the miles you guys have done. And maybe one day I'll get tired of the horses, and if my knees are still good, I'll start running a little bit more.
But you've been saying that for a while.
I know, but I do. I'll get out where I can comfortably go 10, 12 miles. And I do before Tevis. When I'm riding Tevis,
Smart,
I will get
smart,
out because I spend a majority of the middle section on the ground. And
Through the canyons, you mean?
yeah. Just jog down, tail up. So there's 15, 20 miles of Tevis on foot in different, it's not all at once, but different stages. So,
Okay.
but
Well,
you
it's
guys,
good that you're running. That's good.
Yeah.
A little bit.
a little bit.
So tell us about your vacation. You just came back from vacation. You have a wonderful tan.
Had a good time. It's very nice down there. A little bit humid, which I like.
But tell us how you go. And
Well, we flew to Cancun this time. We've been down there before, and I rented a Jeep, and we headed south a couple hours to, on the Caribbean side, to a community called Tulum, and it has some resorts.
history, too. Tulum has history.
Oh yeah, there's some Mayan ruins,
The ruins, yeah.
and we headed out onto a beach to what they call an eco resort, which they did have power, no air conditioning. No, they have power till 10, then they turn on generator, I believe. But there's you can't flush your toilet paper and things like that. But it was very clean, very nice people, very small, but 100 feet from the beach. And their beaches down there are phenomenal. So did a lot of book reading, a lot of snorkeling, a lot of swimming. And then we headed further south for the next week.
So how long were you in?
5 or 6 days.
Okay.
And then we went down further south, down near the Belize border. And I'm trying to remember the name. I don't recall of the nearest town.
It's all right.
But it was really an eco resort, about 10 miles of dirt road to get in there. And it's owned by a couple out of Seattle who built it about a dozen years ago. Same thing. Nothing to do there except sit, read, swim, snorkel. There's no restaurants within miles. So we had family-style dinners with fresh fish every night.
That's good. That's good.
And then we headed back to Cozumel for a few days, another week.
Okay.
So it was fun. We try to get away at least once a year.
Once a year?
Mm-hmm.
Always Mexico?
No, before this, we went for a month to Costa Rica.
Okay.
Never been there, and Costa Rica was real nice.
That's what everybody says, Costa Rica.
My sister went for Christmas, I think.
She was talking about
I
it,
think
right?
so, yeah. She liked it.
Yeah.
The Pacific side's real nice, and then we headed inland and saw some volcanoes and things.
What'd you do in Costa Rica?
Went and visited volcanoes.
It's not volcanoes.
No, we did a little bit of that, and just we're pretty, I've learned to relax on vacations. It used to take me a week, so we planned 2 weeks so I could enjoy the last week. Now I've learned I can usually be relaxed in a couple days.
So, okay, so when you go on vacation, you're not relaxed? You're, what, thinking about the store or what?
I used to think about it a lot more, but now, like, again, with the people in place, I don't think so much about it.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is.
Okay. So what kind of reading are you doing?
Everything. I read a lot. I'm halfway through your book, and I've had it a couple years. I read snippets out of it.
Do you snippets?
Yeah.
Snippets. Okay. You're gonna like the next book.
You have another one.
I got a manuscript that's completed, and having another publisher look at it now. This is on football.
Because?
Well, this is
It's about a certain football.
this is about the winningest college team.
Is it where you went to school?
One of the places. Yeah.
Okay.
University of Michigan. Okay, so in 1969, there was a new coach, Bo Schembechler, came to the University of Michigan to be the head coach. The previous coach was Bump Elliott, who was an All-American, and he got booted, and Bo Schembechler became the head coach. And before that, he was coaching at Miami of Ohio. So, of course, the recruits heard about him and didn't want any part of him because he was crazy. So I'll give you one example of Tom Darden, who became an All-American and played for the Browns and is number 47 on their list of 100 greatest players. So him and Billy Taylor, who was also an All-American, were high school phenoms. So they went to Miami of Ohio and were expecting steak dinners and blah, blah, blah. So Bo says, get in your workout clothes. And he put them through 40-yard dashes and agility drills, and they did all this stuff. And Tom Darden says to me, he said, we got back to the locker room. We looked, that guy's crazy. I don't even want a steak dinner. I want to get out of here. Anyways, Darden is one of the, so I interviewed 8 players and one of their coaches.
From that era.
From that team,
Yeah.
from 1969. So what makes that year significant, Bo Schembechler was a position coach for Woody Hayes. Okay. Gary Moeller was a co-captain, played for Woody Hayes. And so Schembechler was coaching Gary Moeller. So then Bo took the job at Miami of Ohio. Gary graduates, and Bo hires Gary to be the freshman coach at Miami of Ohio. So then Bo gets the job at the University of Michigan. All right. So the last game of the season for Michigan, it's always against Ohio State. So Ohio State at that time was 22-0. They were the greatest thing since whatever, in terms of the writers. The sports people were saying the only team that could beat them maybe was the Minnesota Vikings. How they came up with the Minnesota Vikings and Fran Tarkington and so forth, I don't know, but the Minnesota Vikings. So they're like 17 and a half point favorites. And the home game for Michigan, they come in. You probably remember Jack Tatum. He was the assassin for Ohio State. So they're favored, and they're going to demolish Michigan. And the sports writers and the Detroit Free Press had this cartoon of Ohio State, Woody Hayes on a steamroller, just steamrolling them.
Sure.
Okay, so as it turned out, Jim Mandich was the captain of Michigan at that time. He then went on from Miami and played on their undefeated team, and he was an All-American. And So Reggie McKenzie was one of the sophomores on that team, and he was the guard for OJ when OJ set the rushing record at Buffalo. So he's only a sophomore, and he says in that tunnel, they go onto the field. Jim Mandich turns around, and he's raising his hands, and spittle is coming from his mouth, and he's crying, and he's just all excited about playing this game. So of course they go out on the field, and they kick off to Ohio State, and Ohio State scores. So Gary Muller, the coach, saying, "Oh shit!" We're all confidence because they won. They beat Iowa the week before, 51-6. But that had nothing to do with the game. Was Ohio State. But then Michigan was offside. They went for a 2-point conversion, got stopped. Then Michigan got the ball, went down the field, 7-6. Kicked off to Ohio State. They go down the field, scored. Once again, went for a 2-point conversion.
You might want to. You got a couple of minutes.
I
You
know,
might want
I
to.
know.
Okay.
So, anyway,
This is what your book's on.
yeah. So I interviewed all these guys about that game and what took place in their lives after that game. So I know you're a football guy, so you'll enjoy this one. So anyway, all right. So back to Greg, since we're wrapping up. And is there anything that you want to share with your fans? Because Greg has fans. He's been around this community for a long time, and he's donated so much to.
Yes.
Right.
One thing he didn't mention he donated was the Echo Dozer, which I think people should know. They donated that trail machine.
And it's it's a mini ditch witch track machine that's just 36 inches wide. And I had a 6-way blade design for it, diesel machine, and we put it to use on the trail and did, I think, around 20 miles of complete retread last couple years. To get some of this trail just needs some major attention, and I mean we have wonderful volunteers, but this machine can do what 100 guys can do in a week. It takes me one day.
So to get to know this guy, I mean, because he gives so much to the community, and people recognize that. So we hope that the word gets out even more, because you've done so much for endurance riding in Western states, and
well, they've done so much for us, so it's time to give back. The community as a whole, Auburn, the whole community has gotten behind us, so time to give back.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, and appreciate you coming on the show and telling your story, and I'm glad you told the key story about Tony.
You like that?
It is. Thank you for viewing, and you'll enjoy next week's show as well. Adios. Come on, quick. Everybody
Everybody says that.
Everybody says that.